Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerdarchy's Dave, and today I'm hanging out with Lizzie. How are you doing today?
Hey, I am doing fantastic. Thanks.
If you'd be so kind to kind of introduce yourself and kind of tell people what you do.
Sure. I'm Lizzie, and I'm on TikTok. I am an original character cosplayer. I cosplay a bunch of my characters that I've made for D&D as well as for Starfinder. And I just kind of make content that I think is fun and will make people smile and laugh.
Well, you've made me smile and laugh, and that's why I invited you on here because you show up on my For You page and you've got fun content. And there is definitely a ton of original character cosplayers over on TikTok now,
Yeah,
which is a lot of fun. Which is a lot of fun, and I know. Do you dress up at the table when you play?
I do. Yeah, I started. I had a monk that I just really loved. I played her for like over 2 years, and so just one day I was like, I really want to like cosplay her, and so
Yeah.
I bought some stuff off of Amazon, and I like came in cosplay, and everyone at my table kind of laughed, but they also loved it too. So after that, I was like, this is fun. Like it helps you get into character, and it's just an extra added bonus.
Were you the only one dressing up at your table?
I was at the beginning, and
Mhm.
then there was another character, another player, and he was playing a sorcerer, and he had like tattoos on his arms, and so he like bought like arm tattoos and a coat, and he came one day and was like, "Hey, look at I'm Mal," and I was like, "Yeah, this is awesome." So some people kind of started cosplaying more or less, which was a lot of fun.
You've peer pressured them into it.
Yeah, exactly. They just saw how much fun I was having and just wanted to have fun too.
We've done that to different extents in our games. I've done it a couple times more so for like stream games, just because
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. Like I had this one barbarian I played who would wear a pot on his head instead of a helmet. There was a problem with things getting their brains eaten, and he didn't want his brain eaten. So
Yeah, yeah. It's things like that too. Like if you have like a really like something that makes your character stand out, I think
yeah,
sometimes we forget those things. So like I had a character who was blue, like her skin was blue, and
yeah.
was like a big part of her character. But I was like, my skin isn't blue, and so people would just kind of forget until I would mention it again. So I think when you cosplay, even just like little things at the table, if it's something that's like really important to your character, it helps other people remember, like, oh, hey, yeah, this part of her, her story or this part of her character is really important, and it's like a visual reminder almost.
So how long does it take you to get ready for game night then?
Probably like an hour. I mean, makeup always takes more time than anything, but other than that, it's just for Kina, she had like arm wraps because she was a
Yeah.
monk, and those took the longest because you had to like wrap them all the way up and then all the way down. But it's not too bad usually.
I used to do like some Muay Thai and boxing and stuff, so I know just wrapping the hands takes a while, let alone the
Yeah.
forearms as well.
Yeah, and I don't know how to do that like for real. I was just doing it for fun, and so I was always a little worried that I was gonna like post it online and someone was gonna be like, "That's not how you wrap those." Like, no,
I don't
I know, I just
I don't think there's really that much of a there's not that much to it, right? Like you go between the fingers and around the hands and like I don't know. I don't remember being showed like a like proper way to
a
do
proper
it.
way. Well, that's good.
To be honest with you. So as always, folks, down in the description you can find links to check Lizzie out over on TikTok, as well as we are launching a Kickstarter next month, the 4th. You want to follow along with that project, you can. There will be early bird specials, so click the link and get notified. Um, so how did you get into TikToking? How did you get started?
So I got into TikTok because I had a character in Starfinder who was Vi, and her profession in Starfinder was a video personality. And so I was cosplaying her in game, and my GM told me that if I actually made like a recap video of the session and posted it online, he would give me inspiration. So I was like, yes, I'll do this. So I started recording videos and posting them on Reddit because that's just what I had at the time. We took a break from that campaign, came back to it a couple years later, and my GM was on TikTok, and he was like, Vi would love TikTok. Like, this is her whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I decided to start posting our recap videos as Vi on TikTok. And it was just for my Starfinder group, just to have some fun. And then I got some more followers, and people started interacting with the content and just really liked it. And so I just kept going with it.
How many characters do you cosplay over on TikTok now?
Oh, that's a good question. I have Vi and Haley. I did a Starfinder, like a Starfinder campaign with other TikTokers, and so I cosplayed my character for that too. Kina, and I have a random ranger that I started to get different pieces for her cosplay, so I've cosplayed her as well. And then most recently, I've been cosplaying a succubus named Nessia. She was an NPC actually in one of our games, and I just really loved her character. And so I got these horns, and I was like, oh, this is absolutely perfect. So I think 5 or 6, I think at least.
Nice. Any excuse to put horns on our heads, whatever.
Yeah, they're actually my GM's. He bought them for something else, and I was like, hey, can I borrow these?
That's great. Do you have any upcoming characters that haven't made their appearance yet?
Yeah, so my current character in our campaign is Gita. She's a druid, and I've never played a druid before, so I've gotten some pieces for her cosplay. And I actually, one of our players is a hunter, and he actually brought me some horns. So I'm trying to figure out a way to like make them into a headband and get those. So she is my next cosplay. I'm very excited because I'm actually playing her in game too, so I can do some story elements with her.
What kind of druid are you playing?
I just changed her up actually. She's a Circle Wildfire druid, which is really different. The first time I started playing her, she was Circle of Dreams. And for a lot of different reasons that campaign kind of died. Actually, it died because everybody died.
That'll do it every time.
Yeah, we're doing Descent into Avernus, and I wasn't playing, and I was our one healer, so everyone, it was a TPK. It was like, all right, where do we go from here? So we restarted the campaign, and as I was kind of redoing her character, she is from a barbarian tribe. One of the other PCs is my twin in game, and so I was like, I don't really want her to be this like flighty, dreamy character. We had someone else join who was going to play a cleric, so I was like, I don't really need the healing spells anymore. So I just decided I wanted her to be like BA, and so she did Circle of Wildfire, and so she does all these fire damage now, and it's really awesome. I'm really excited about her.
So you went from flighty to burn it all down.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, sometimes you just need to burn things down. Have they burned down a tavern yet?
No, not yet. We did have to come up with a story of like something they did for the town. And so I think the story that we created was like there was a disease in the town. And so she used her fire to like burn everything that was diseased and infected. So she got to do like a huge wildfire, huge bonfire in the middle of the town, which was really cool.
So you said there was a TPK. Now you said you weren't there or were there?
I was not there.
So you missed the TPK.
I did, and it was it was because of some rules lawyering that happened. It was a lot of drama in our group for a little bit, but it's just one right. It was just one of those things that the DM was like, I'm gonna make this decision because I think it's best for game. And then our rules lawyer was like, but that's not raw. And so the DM was like, fine, you want rules written, everyone dies. That's the end of how that ended.
Yeah,
So I came back and I was like, hey, what happened last session?
We died.
Yeah, like we died, and we're going back to Starfinder for a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. Gotta love those players. Well, actually.
Right. Yes, and yeah, love him with all my heart. He's still a part of the group. It's one of those things that you're like, sometimes you just have to say, yes, DM. that is what happens, and just move on with the session.
Yeah, I think that's what I enjoy about 5e over the 3.5 and Pathfinder systems, the less rules, because it gives the rules lawyer folks less fodder.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I like the flexibility. Like my DM is NGeek88. He's on TikTok too. We do a lot of like things together. But he's like rule of cool. Like that's his whole thing. Like if you can make it cool, I will let you do it. I think it's awesome. And so that makes it really fun because you can find different ways to use spells or to use your different skills to make things happen.
How did you first get into gaming?
So I don't really remember. I was having this conversation recently. I had a friend who was just like, "Hey, I play D&D," and I don't think I was ever like, interested in D&D. I do love storytelling and I love writing, and so I think she was just like, "I think you would really like this." So I rolled up a bard and just joined the table, and it was like I joined like 2 sessions in, I think, to the campaign, so I wasn't even there like at the very beginning. But I do remember like my first or second session, our everyone walked into a room in a dungeon, and you could tell that my DM was so excited. And I walked up, and he's like, "Oh, you see text on the wall?" And I was like, "Ooh!" And immediately everyone starts like saying something, and he's like, "Shh, don't say anything." So then he takes me to the other room and he tells me what the text says because I'm the only one who can read it. And we go back to the table and he goes, "Do you read the text out loud?" I'm like, "Well, yes, of course, I'm going to read it out loud." And then the whole room exploded. And everyone was like, "We wanted to tell you, but he wouldn't."
They're explosive
Other
runes or
players would
something.
know. Right, yeah, they were like, other people would know. You never read the text out loud. I didn't know, and so I read it out loud. But that was the first that I was like, okay, this is a lot of fun. I'm down for this. Like, let's have some fun.
Yeah. Yeah, your group reminds me of some of my earlier groups.
And we're just in it for a good time. It's not always a long time, but
Yeah. Did the party survive the explosive runes?
we did survive.
And a
And I
valuable
learned
lesson was
an
learned.
invaluable lesson. Exactly.
That's funny. So how long have you been playing now?
I think like 6 or 7 years I've been playing now,
Oh,
which seems crazy when I like say that out loud. It seems like a really long time. Like I feel
yeah.
like I should know more than I really do, but yeah, it has been quite a while.
Oh, I mean, I don't know that I don't think there's any requirements. There's no quizzes or anything, so at least I won't be quizzing
There's
you.
not.
So
It's always just kind of funny. Like I kind of have a terrible memory anyways, but like I don't commit things to memory when
yeah,
we play. I'm the note taker because of that. But I have some player friends who have like memorized monster stats and things like that, and I'm like, I'm just not interested in a lot of that, and it helps me not metagame, which I think is helpful.
I have a lot of the D&D stuff memorized, but only because I started playing when I was much younger. But like for most things nowadays, I have a terrible memory. Like even like if I read books, like I don't necessarily remember everything that I read. I just know that I enjoyed reading it.
Right.
It seems like the older I get, my retention gets worse. So I don't know. Maybe I'm working on going senile. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of nice though, because then if you like watch a movie and then
Yeah,
you wait a few months and then you're like, did I watch this? I just did that. I watched Knives Out recently, and I saw it multiple times when it was in theaters.
yeah.
And the entire time I was like, I don't remember what the ending of this movie was. And then the ending happened. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. But I got to enjoy it twice. So
That was pretty good. I generally don't watch movies more than once. I'm weird like that. Like, kind of like, oh, I've seen that before. I need a new thing where I know, like, I definitely have friends and family where they'll just watch the same thing over and over and over again.
yeah. I have like a couple of movies that I really, really like, but I love watching the movies too. Especially when they're like, suspense or there's a big twist in it, because then, once and you can never do that again.
Yeah. So, how have you gotten involved with the rest of the TikTok community?
A little bit. Right when I kind of started, Level 8 Dad, who's a really big in D&D TikTok, he posted something about Starfinder, and I responded, and I was like, Starfinder, I love it. And then Farjag, who's also on TikTok, he was like, yeah, I would definitely like GM something if people wanted to do that. And so we got a group of like, I think there were 8 people just from TikTok that decided to play Starfinder together for like I think 3 months, and it was a blast. It was so much fun. We meshed really well together. We had some really good role play moments. Um, my GM ended up playing, which was great because he'd never been able to play Starfinder
Yeah.
before. And at the end, him and another character literally made everyone cry. Like it was absolutely amazing. So a little bit in that, but I haven't done a lot of like collaborations or anything with other people.
Was that a stream game or just a offline? Or I
No,
mean
it
online,
was
but
just yeah, it was just online, yeah, through Discord. But yeah, we didn't stream it. I've never streamed a game. We tried to do a podcast.
yeah.
Oh man, this was maybe like 5 years ago, and our games are so chaotic, and they're like 5 or 6 hours long. Like we just play for forever.
Yeah.
And so one of the players wanted to make a podcast, so he bought this like expensive microphone and he edited it all down. It was still like 2.5 hours, and I listened to it, and it was everywhere. Like we tried to do like accents, and none of us could do accents, and it was just like, yeah, maybe we're just not podcast people. But then I have people on TikTok that are like, yeah, stream it, I love it, like the more raw the better, like just make it fun. And
It's
so I don't
weird
know,
what
maybe.
people like, because I guess like in the early days we're like, I guess we're doing this thing and talking about games, so we should show people that we play games. I don't know. And then we start like recording them and putting them up. And I think like the first one that we did is like got like 150,000 views or something. But
Wow.
which isn't even that much like nowadays. Like, but it was still like weird. And then after a while, like more and more streams started popping up, and we
Hmm.
got to the point where we're like, well, I don't know, we just like kind of like strong armed all of our friends into doing this with us because we were doing a thing, and which I don't recommend to anyone. And also
Right.
like, it was like our home game, and like people were doing streams and they're doing them so much better. So it's like Ted had just gotten into Critical Role, and he's like,
Mm.
uh, super excited about like the intro stuff that they do, and like we could do that. I'm like, yeah, we could, but then our streams would still be shitty. Like, it would be like, why would you put that in front of what we put up? Because it was like a webcam, and like he's got in his basement where we play is a pool table that
Mhm.
has a top fitted over top of it. So the table is
Okay.
like
Yeah.
really, it's a good space, but it's 4x8, so it's really big. So like
Right.
capturing that with one camera and all the people was like a real far away view. And it would like
Right.
hang a Yeti from the ceiling in the middle, and then it's like we either have to get much better or maybe we just play these games as our home games for ourselves. We put enough
Yeah.
out there that people know we play games.
Right. Right. And I think too, like with the podcast, we were like uber aware of like what we were doing or
Yeah.
saying, which I think in certain moments kind of took away from like the immersive of just like being in the game.
Yeah.
um so I think that, if I was ever to do anything, I think streaming it would just be like, yeah, if you want to watch the chaos for a few hours, like go for it. But like polishing it and editing it and all that, I don't think I'll ever do that, at
And
least not me
also,
personally.
I don't know about your friends, but my friends aren't always super appropriate. So definitely like, yeah, we're gonna have to like make a note of where to go back here and
Right,
maybe edit
exactly.
this part.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know if this would translate well, or or even inside jokes, right? Something
Yeah.
that you think is hysterical that no one else would find funny.
Yeah. So there's that. So now when we do our stream games, there's a lot more intention to them, and those are just the games that we play at home.
Right. Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
is that something you have any interest in, or do you just like kind of like creating the content that you create?
I would definitely be interested in, doing some collabs for different things. I know Like the Chaotic Conclave, they do a bunch of like story-driven collabs, which I think are really awesome. But I have had a couple people reach out to do to like play in like an online streamed game. And I think that's awesome. I'd love to do it. Unfortunately, they reached out like right before the holidays, and I was like, I don't have time right now. But
Yeah.
that would definitely be something that I think would be fun to do in the future.
Yeah, it does seem like there's a bunch of them that have been kind of like getting together and doing that, which is kind of cool.
Mhm.
You mentioned the Chaos Conclave. We just had Crafty Mirage on the other day.
Yeah, I love her. She's awesome.
Yeah, unless I'm saying it backwards. Yeah, I don't know. Like I mentioned, I don't really know who anybody is on TikTok
Yeah.
because of the way TikTok is.
Right, yeah, because you don't, and it's hard too. Like I like the idea of the stories. Eldrick, I can't remember his last name, but or not this last name, but the second part of his handle. He
Yeah.
does a bunch of like story-driven like TikToks, but you don't really see them in order. So it's hard sometimes to know like, well, where does this fit into the whole story? So I haven't done a lot of like multi-story videos just because like that's not really the nature of, unless you have like the folder feature, which I don't know how to get that, but I would absolutely love it. That would be
Oh yeah,
fantastic.
isn't there? There's also a playlist, right? Like feature as
Yeah, there's
well.
like, yeah, so there's like different features that you unlock. I don't know, because it likes you or you have so many followers. I'm not sure what it is, but
I
I
I
don't
know
have it
like
yet.
I know like virtually nothing about TikTok. Like we have an account and I threw up like a couple of videos and they're just like stuff that like we used to do stupid skits in front of some of our videos and we cut those off and like maybe like fast forward them or slow mo them and threw some of those up there. But after
Yeah.
a while I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just old. And so now I just kind of lurk over there and maybe interact in the comments.
Yeah, and it's funny too because I feel like a lot of the, I don't know, like you have to like a balance. Like there are people who are literally making money off of teaching people how to TikTok. That blows my mind. Like I
Yeah.
don't but like you do like so many trends and like TikTok features you didn't know existed. I think I was on it for a few months before I realized there was an analytics page.
Oh.
I just randomly saw a video that talked about their analytics page and I was like, wait, I can see the analytics for videos. I had no idea you could do that.
Well, I mean that's the great thing about TikTok too because the bar to entry is kind of low, so like people can just get on and just start doing it. It's like it's a lot, it's a lot easier than some other platforms like especially like if you're talking about going live on Twitch or YouTube, you need a whole
Yeah.
separate piece of software and a
Right.
setup where like everyone's got a phone in their pocket pretty much and just can talk it pull it out and talk.
Yeah.
So,
Which is I think that is what makes it kind of fun. Like I know a lot of that content is curated or a lot of
yeah.
the videos are edited. But there are a lot of videos of people just like, this is life and this is where I'm at and I'm just in my car talking about my Starbucks run and you kind of just see into the lives of different people.
Do you have any creators that you follow?
Oh, I mean, uh, yes. Can I name them off the top of my head? No. Like I said, I really love. I wish I could remember his entire handle. Aldrich Horror. Maybe that's what it is. I love his content, and he has a co-collaborator that he does a bunch of skits with. I do love the Chaotic Conclave. I think that the community that they have created is just fantastic. Like, come one, come all. We're all just here to have a good time, and I think that's really awesome with like DM Zombie and Crafty Mirage. And then I just have some of like my friends that I follow that I know in real life, like Dak Bardic Charm is super fun. She creates a lot of OC cosplays too. And Geek88 is my DM, and so he posts things all the time about DMing and cool things that happen, but also some of the struggles. And he has also done some of the like TikTok combat videos, and so he'll like have people roll for initiative and then conducts the entire combat within TikTok videos. And so you like have a character and you deal damage and you record your rolls, and that was a lot of fun actually to do those.
Oh, I haven't seen those.
Yeah, they're a little complex. There was a lot of like texting in between, like does a DC 14 hit or something
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
And so you kind of had to like finagle it a little bit to be like, well, if they fail their their check, then this is the much damage they're going to do. But the last one we did was like you and your friends are in the mall and you see a pizza golem that comes out, and it was just kind of just funny, like almost like one little one shots, but it's all done like within TikTok.
Nice. So, since you mentioned the Chaos Conclave, what side of the great bard debate do you fall on?
My first two characters were bards, and so I am a bard at heart. I absolutely love them, so I was definitely on the bard side of that. Of that, I don't know if you can call it an argument, but
Yeah. There's that one, and also the Goblin versus Kobold.
yes, yeah. Hello, operator. When he started following me, I was like, I nerded, I fangirled quite a bit. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this creator so much.
Yeah.
And so he's interacted with some of my videos too. And that whole thing was so funny. I don't think I have a preference one way or another for Goblin or Kobold, but
Yeah, hello. First of all, hello operator is great. We've had him on and talked to him, and also just the other day, I feel like I've heard it before, but the song that he did came up in my For You page, and I was like, maybe we should do a video on this. This could be kind of fun.
yeah, he's just so funny, and I love that he gets like a Git is his little like cosplay, his character that he does too.
The one of the things I hate about TikTok though is like if you find something you like but don't save it right then somehow, it's gone forever.
Yeah, and I struggle with like as a creator, I like find a sound, right? And so I save the sound, but I'm not going to do it right away because I'm not currently in cosplay, and it
Yeah.
takes time and
What, you don't
planning and
just
things
go
like
throughout
that.
your day and just cosplay all the time?
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, oh yeah, we just it's the times that you're just like, I should snap my fingers.
Yeah.
And so then it's like go through. So at one point I had a spreadsheet of like the name of the sound, the character I wanted to do, and like I
Yeah.
had to organize it, and it just gets a little crazy. And then like, you like videos. I wish they had folders for liked videos, like a video that I liked because I liked it, and a video I liked because I want to duet it or stitch it later.
Yeah. You need a TikTok assistant.
I do. Yeah, I know. I like an account manager or something.
Yeah. What game did you get started with? You mentioned D&D. Did you start with D&D, Pathfinder?
D&D, yeah, 5e was the first one I've played. It's the only edition I've played actually for D&D.
Okay.
And then I played Starfinder. I would love to play Pathfinder. Now that I've played Starfinder, which seems a little backwards, but I think
Yeah.
I could do Pathfinder now because it's a lot of the same
Well,
game mechanics.
I guess it depends on what edition of Pathfinder you're talking about because
It's true.
a lot of the mechanics from Starfinder went into the second edition Pathfinder.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I was talking to someone and they had told the story that I heard was the reason why they made Starfinder was because Gen Con was coming up and they had no big releases and they needed to do something, so they're like, let's do a sci-fi fantasy game, and that's
Yeah, that
how
sounds accurate.
and that's how Starfinder was kind of birthed. And then like I guess they used that to test out some of the rules they wanted to kind of start changing and messing with.
Yeah, because they're constantly like, adding things to Starfinder because like the core rulebook is not. It has a lot of crunchy rules in it, but it's not very thick in of itself. So I know it seems really overwhelming, but we were in our TikTok campaign. We had like a session 0 where we were like working on our character creation, and I was kind of like, I've only ever made one character, so I don't really know this very well. But if you have the core rulebook, it's just like step 1, you pick a race, and then step 2, you pick a class, and then based on that, you get these stats. And
Yeah.
it was actually pretty easy just to go through and make a character.
Yeah, I think that part is a lot less. Pathfinder's like that too, where it's like you're not worrying about rolling and placing stats the same way you are in some of the other games. Although, like, if you don't know where you're going with your character, you don't have it kind of like planned out, it can be kind of tough because then you get done and you're like, well, these stats make no sense.
Right, yeah. Well, I played an operative in that online campaign, and I don't know if I'll ever play anything else. I actually posted a TikTok video about it, and somebody commented like, "Oh yeah, operatives in Starfinder are so broken." I was
Yeah,
like, "What do you mean they're broken?" And then I played one, and I was like, "Yeah, they kind of are." Like, she was good at shooting. She was good at like all of the skills. Like, I had more skills points than our envoy, who's supposed to be like the skills monkey class. And
yeah,
so after a while, I was just like, I'm just not gonna, like, I have a +9 in that, but I'm just gonna not say anything because otherwise I would just do all of the things. Like, that's not
yeah.
fun for everybody. So yeah,
I
they're a little broken,
played.
but they're really fun to play.
I only played one game of that, and I played one of the rat guys, which I forget what they're called,
The Scaremanders, is that what that one was?
and I was one of the ones with a drone,
Yeah.
which I used to, which basically I just had a drone, so I had someone to argue with. So
Yeah, we had an android that had a drone, and the I can't remember. He changed his name multiple times throughout the campaign. But it was kind of funny because you almost get like an extra attack every single time.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. So Brian Smith has a question: do you ever get
Okay.
overwhelmed with the amount of content on TikTok? There's so much cool stuff out there. I need to remind myself to go outside sometimes and smell a tree or something. I just have now I just envision Brian Smith walking around outside sniffing trees.
He's just a Druid at heart.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is, which I do kind of appreciate that TikTok, like in the algorithm, if you've been on for a long time, have videos that will pop up that'll be like, it looks like you've been on TikTok for a while. Maybe you should get off TikTok. I've seen those messages quite a few times. Yeah, there is a lot of content, but I think sometimes it's just, again, like we talked earlier a little bit about who you follow and who you choose to follow. And I think it's one of those things of, I really like certain content creators, so I'll go there and I'll look at their content, more than just scrolling my For You page. But then sometimes, like last night, I got onto Crystal Talk for some reason,
yeah.
and they were like packing crystal mystery boxes. I'm like, I'm not into crystals, but I watched that for like an hour. It was so soothing to sit there and watch them like pack rocks into boxes.
It is
I get
crazy,
it.
like, cause like I were anymore. I watch virtually no RPG D&D content when it comes to like YouTube, and because I'm just like I don't want to watch this 10-minute video or 15-minute video or whatever.
Yeah.
And but then I'll go on TikTok, and like 60 videos later, it's just like
Right. You like lie to yourself because you're like,
yeah,
oh, it's only like 15 seconds or it's only 60 seconds. And then,
yeah.
hours go by and you're like, oh, I'm still
I,
on here.
I must say too, like when a creator gets to the point where they can do 3-minute videos, like I generally get angry with them, and I'm like, 3 minutes? Why can't you? If you can't say it in 60 seconds, you shouldn't say it
Right.
at all.
That's like every time I do like an unboxing video from like
Yeah,
my wish list, I always like pick the 3 minutes just in case because it's always like you're 60 seconds in, I'm gonna start all over kind of thing.
yeah.
But yeah, like 3 minutes to watch a whole thing. Or my personal pet peeve is when people do like a 3 minute video and then are like, click for part two. Like no, you had 3 minutes to get to the main point of that
Yeah.
story.
Now I say all of that being a freaking complete hypocrite because like me and Ted couldn't even introduce ourselves in 60 seconds, let alone do a video. So
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
aware of my hypocrisy.
I did that with my Starfinder videos too, of like trying to talk about like a specific mechanic in that game of like, I don't know if I can do that in 60 seconds in a way that other people would understand how to use it.
Yeah, it is tough. I'm always impressed with folks that can convey important information in that short amount of time. It's
Yeah, and
very
sometimes they
impressive.
just talk really, really fast too.
Well, there's that too. Like, there's that method. You can either be
Right.
concise or talk really, really
Or
fast.
just talk really fast. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a couple of TikTokers. There's one I can see her face. I don't actually know what her handle is, and she does that where she like talks about like kind of crazy game mechanics that she like makes like technically our rules is written, but she's really creative with them. But she talks so fast, and I'm like, I have to watch your video 2 or 3 times just to
Oh no.
understand everything you said.
Oh man, that would now that's making me think of like people speaking Spanish and talking fast to be on to get more in the video, because some people when they speak Spanish already speak really really fast. It's like,
Yeah.
how do you breathe?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So have you been discovered by non gamers in your real life on TikTok?
Um, no, no one I know that doesn't already know that I have a TikTok has found me. I will say that I went to Ren Fair in Michigan, and I posted a video, like a compilation afterwards, and I did have someone on TikTok who was like, I saw you at Ren Fair and I thought it was you, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't say anything. And I was like, oh, that's funny.
You
Run in the
saw
same
nothing.
circles. Yeah, yeah. But no, so far I haven't. It'd be, like I said, I'm pretty open about, I'm on TikTok, but
Yeah,
a lot of I have like my gaming friends, and then you kind of have friends that aren't really into gaming that
the Muggles.
wouldn't really be right. Exactly.
Yeah.
uh wouldn't really be on that side of TikTok, I don't think.
Now I know before we went live, we are talking a little bit, and you said you've run some one shots.
Yeah, well, I actually ran Minds of Fendelver. That was my first time DMing for my group, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot from that campaign. There are some things that I did really, really well, and some things that I didn't do so well. But that was a lot of fun. I liked having like a set campaign that I could like work off of and kind of make my own. My DM, he's not a forever DM because we all kind of DM a little bit, but he was
Okay.
just super excited to be able to play. And so he wanted to do like all these crazy things. And sometimes I had to be like, listen, this is my first time DMing. I just need you to walk it back a little bit. And we had some drama, as happens in D&D groups, but I think I handled it like a champ. And then I did a one shot. It was same characters as like a Halloween, a one shot, and it had like zombies and ghosts, and it had a zombie beholder at the very end, and it was all like within our current campaign. So we all had our same characters. It was a lot of fun.
Do you have a preferred style of play?
Like what do you mean?
Like I guess like specific genres maybe that you like, even within like Starfinder and D&D kind of games,
Um,
like
yeah.
political espionage, or dungeon crawls, or horror.
That's a good question. I definitely like role play a lot better than combat. So I think anything that allows for a lot of like discussion. Like there was one combat that we were supposed to do in a tavern, and with a shapeshifter, I think. And I ended up just having a conversation with her and like resolved it with some rolls. And that was a lot of fun. I will say that we did um, Mad Mage, which is just a huge dungeon crawl. And we decided at the end of that we were never going to do that again.
It's
So,
funny. I heard bad mage instead of
oh,
mad
Mad,
mage, which
yeah.
makes me think
I
of
mean, it's
bad
kind
Santa.
of, yeah, it was, we're very story driven. And my DM loves homebrew. He's really good. He's a therapist, which probably plays into this, but he's really good about like taking backstories and like putting them into the story and like leaving breadcrumbs and things like that. And so I think something with Mad Mage, it was really hard to do that with a preset campaign. So I definitely prefer, fantasy homebrew to written campaigns.
Is that the kind of like one shots you've run too? Stuff that you've written?
Yeah. So the Halloween one shot that I did was I wrote that entire thing. It took me a lot longer than I wanted to because I'm a perfectionist, but it was a lot of fun.
That that's pretty typical. I mean, of that, how much did your players skip though?
Well, I didn't really let them skip anything. So we were in our house that we owned in the campaign,
Hmm.
and they walked in. The bottom is a tavern that we own, and everything looked fine. And then all of a sudden, everyone turned into zombies. And I made it so that if the zombie hit you, they were also diseased. And I had like 6 different diseases that I would roll in front of everyone to see what you got diseased with,
Yeah.
which was like a really cool idea, except none of the diseases affected the people that it hit. So like one of them was like you can't use magic for a certain number of turns.
Oh.
Um, but it was like our fighter who hit it. So like it was like, okay, that's fine. Like whatever, I don't care. And then they went upstairs and things that you forget your players have. So one of our players had an axe that glowed. And so I was like, oh, you go upstairs and it's like pitch black and no, you can't see anything. And he's like, well, I can. And I was like, yeah, well, you can. So now I don't get the surprise round that I really wanted, but that's okay. And then they fought some ghosts, which was a lot of fun because when you first see a ghost, you have to roll to see if you're frightened, and a lot of them were. And so I kind of had fun chasing them around with ghosts.
That's
Um,
brutal if you're playing an Era Croaker.
yeah, I didn't have any of that time, but
There's definitely some short-lived races that could die of old age fighting a ghost.
yeah, it was just it was supposed to be silly, and I told them to at the end. I was like, if anyone dies, then this was all just like a fever dream that you had, because it was still like within our campaign. But at the end, what it was, we had a zombie beholder, and I think I ended up like doubling its hit points at one point because they were just doing so much damage to it, and just having fun with it. And then finally they killed it, and it was a parade float that we had found like 2 months prior in our actual campaign, and my character like came out of it and was like, ha ha ha, you guys are so funny. Like she had orchestrated this whole thing.
Oh, that's fun. That is kind of
And
funny.
yeah, I was like, yeah, just something, again, just having a good time.
I do like the idea of the zombies having diseases and making them kind of random.
Yeah, it was kind of difficult to like organize all of that together. I kept
Yeah.
forgetting that when a zombie dies, you can roll to see if it lives, and yeah, newbie
That
DM
definitely
things.
happens. I forget stuff all the time. So Brian wants to know worst trend for RPG TikToks and best trend. But I'm more interested in the best or your favorite trend than I am the worst or your least favorite.
My favorite trend actually, and I know it's like way overdone at this point and everyone's over it. I really like the ring light challenge. Like that like went through D&D TikTok. But there were just so many people, like it was so like all about body positivity, which I thought was really awesome, to do that. And so that's probably been my favorite trend, specifically like within D&D TikTok, that's happened recently. I don't know about worst trends.
Yeah, you don't have to give a worst one. I like to
Yeah,
focus on the positive. Yeah, I don't even know
I
that I have a favorite trend per se. I just like the randomness of it and like not knowing what you're going to get.
don't. Yeah, yeah. I will
Yeah.
say though, whenever I hear the start of Infinity now, I'm just like, oh, you just know what it's gonna be. Like,
You're waiting
okay,
for the ring light.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if there's been a lot of trends like specifically throughout D&D TikTok. I know there were some like questions asked of people. Those ones are really fun because then you kind of, I like with the things that I learn new information, but you also are like, ah, yes, that also happens to me. I see you and I feel seen.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So what are some games that maybe you haven't played that you're interested in playing?
um, I think for like a TTRPG, it would definitely be like Pathfinder would be one of them. Another one I played once was Call of Cthulhu, Trail of Cthulhu. Trail. I think it was the trail one. I played that as like a one shot. Actually, again, after Ren Fair with my friends, we were like, "Hey, let's do this." That was a lot of fun, and I would love to like go back into that because it was so different the way everything was set up, and like again, it was very heavy role play, which I absolutely love. And so that would definitely be another one that I'd love to just to try out again.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually played Call of Cthulhu, but my understanding is like, it's not like D&D with Cthulhu. You're trying to figure things out, investigate, and generally, if
Right.
you have to fight things, things have gone horribly wrong.
Yes, yeah, and that was difficult because like within the first 10 minutes of playing, we were like, yeah, I'm just gonna take out my gun and shoot them.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, well they shoot you back and now you're literally dying and there's nothing you can really do about it. And I was like, oh, so I don't want to shoot things and I don't want them to shoot me back. Okay, I got it. So
Yeah, yeah, that is bad. Being shot is bad. I generally don't like games that are really realistic like that, unless like it's a game where that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
right, yeah,
If that
because it
makes
was,
sense.
yeah, it does, yeah.
Um,
Because right, I'm like I as Lizzie would not just like go out and start shooting someone because they called me a bad name. Like that's
yeah.
not my go-to reaction to that.
I'm not into like the gritty realism type games, especially like games that take a long time to create a character, and then like you get like 5 minutes into the game and like, oh, I'm dead. I need another character. That wasn't a
Yes,
lot of fun, I guess.
yeah. I will say that that is probably my and say shortcoming, but like I when I make a character, like even in D&D, like I love that character. Like
Yeah.
some people have 25 different characters that they've created that they just pick from. And I really just create a character for a campaign, uh, which can be difficult sometimes because I'm like, I really don't want them to die. And so I'm really intentional about making sure that they don't die. I don't play tanks very often, if that's surprising.
Are the campaigns you play in, are they hard? Like, is there a lot of character death?
Nah, not usually. But I also think that that's because like my DM knows that like I put a lot of time and effort and work into that character and
Yeah.
I don't want them to just die.
Hey Lizzie, you know that that cosplay you've been working on for hours? You can shelf that now.
Yeah, right. Next.
Well, at least if they do die in your games, they can live on in TikTok forever.
It's true. It's true.
So
That's
there
like
is
a
that.
like Kina. She didn't die, but that campaign is over. And so it's nice sometimes to break out her cosplay and be like, oh yeah, I really liked playing her.
Do do you have any desire or plans to run any campaigns in the future?
I do. My DM keeps like poking me to come on. He wants me to do a homebrew campaign based on like France underneath like the Louis XIV, like the very like elaborate French homebrew campaign.
That sounds very
And so,
specific.
yeah, I mean, it kind of is. He has lots of ideas for it, but I mean, I'm down for it. I think it'd be a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, maybe over the summer or something, I have a little bit more free time. But I would like to DM again. It's been a long time since I've done it, and so I feel like it's like a skill you just need to flex every once in a while just to make sure you can still do it.
Well, it's like anything. The more often you do it, the better you get at it,
Right,
and the easier it gets.
right.
It all, it all also depends on your group. And it seems like you probably like to do a lot of prep.
Yes, yes, I do a lot of prep. Um, one of the things I loved most when I did Minds of Fendelver is that there's a part of that campaign where basically your players can choose from I think it's like 10 different side quests that all kind of tie into the main story, kind of don't. And so I drew out like a bulletin board and I
Uh,
made pieces of paper for each of those side quests and I put it up, and so then they like went up to the bulletin board and talked about it in character, and then they would like take one down and decide what to do. And
oh, that's pretty
because
cool.
I'm just a little extra.
Are most of your gaming in person?
Yeah, yeah. During the pandemic, 2020, even the beginning of 2021, we were online, and it was really difficult. Like I said, I really love role play, but it's really hard when you have 6 people in one video call to like, you know, give and take space a little bit. And so there were definitely some times where I was like, well, if this was in person, it'd be a lot easier because then you can have side conversations, but you can't have side conversations when you're in Discord. So
Yeah, it's hard, and depending on the video software, you can't really talk over each other because it cuts the other person
right.
off, and Yeah, it
exactly.
misses a lot of nuance. And also, you said you guys usually play long games. Being behind a
Yeah,
computer for like 5 or 6 hours is a long time
it
for
is
a
a
game.
long time.
And I know some people do it, but our when we play online, we usually max out at about 3 hours.
Hmm.
Just in person,
Yeah.
5 or 6 hours is not a big deal.
Right. Well, you can just like take breaks and you get up and walk around and you're still like a part of the game. But
Yeah,
so yeah, as soon as we could like safely get back together in person, I think like in the summer we actually played in a garage. And so we had like the garage door open and then we had like our each individual tables and we were just all spread out.
yeah.
It was so fun. But
I know for us, it's like once we were able to match up like vaccination schedules and stuff.
mhm.
There was something magical about that like first game back together. Uh,
Yeah.
and we'd also like started a couple new games, so there was people that we'd never even really met in person yet and played with in
Okay.
person. So like when we finally got together, it was like the first time.
Right. You're like, hey, I know you. Nice to meet you, but also I know you.
Yeah, well, so in like one of the games, it's like one of the guys was like super tall, but you didn't really get that from
Yeah.
being on a video call with them, and you're like, you're just way taller than you should be. This doesn't make sense. Online,
I get that a
everyone's this
lot.
big.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Everyone's seated, so you're all kind of the same size.
yeah,
My thing is too, like when you see people with masks a lot and then you see them without the mask and you're like, oh, that's not what I thought your face looked like.
I went to Gen Con and I mistook someone for somebody else because they had the mask on and I hadn't seen the that person in a while, and then we started talking, and then it was so weird because I actually knew the person, but
Oh,
I just mistook them from someplace else. I had
yeah.
never met them in person before,
Okay,
and
yeah.
and then and so they thought that I just recognized them, and I was like, no, and then I had to like embarrass myself and be like, no, I actually thought you were this person, but it turns out, wait a minute, I do know you.
All right, I do. Just it's from something different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's I mean, if you think about it, your nose and mouth and jawline are important pieces of identification.
yeah. Just half your face, pretty much.
Yeah, I didn't get to go to Gen Con this year. I was very sad about it.
Do you usually hit Gen Con?
I've gone actually, I think I've only gone once technically. And it was so much fun. I mean, I had a blast there. So, yeah, we just didn't get to go this year.
Yeah, I've been a handful of times now. Like before we started doing Nerdarchy, I never really did conventions. So that
Mhm.
part is kind of new to me. But yeah, this year it was nice and finally getting back to some conventions. We did Gen Con, me and my wife, and then me and Ted and my wife were over at PAX Unplugged. That one's local for us, which is like good and bad at the same time. It's
Right.
like
Yeah.
it's like local, but not like super close. So you're like commuting back and forth, and it's like once you're there, you're not going anywhere because it's too much of a pain in the ass.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it
I
makes
mean,
for long
I'm a
days.
it does. Yeah. That's me at run fairs sometimes where it's like, well, it's only a 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah,
But then you gotta like make it in the morning and make it in the evening. It's like, well, do you stay or do you just travel? And so
yeah, and that's why like some if you can be at a hotel room and it's like right there and you can just walk to the event floor and then back to your room or whatever is super nice.
right, yeah, definitely.
Although I don't know if Red fairs are ever set up that conveniently.
No, not not usually. We did I went to Bristol, which is up near Chicago, and I actually have friends who live up there. And so I was like, hey, I'm gonna go to Ren Fair. Can I like crash on your couch? So I
Yeah,
don't have to drive all the way back. And they were really nice about it. So yeah, if you have like friends and stuff, it can be really nice. But I still had to drive like an hour and a half to go to their house.
yeah, that's not super close. Do you have a favorite like costume for Ren fairs?
Um, I don't know, favorite. I have like a pirate y kind of costume that I've kind of created. I got really into dressing up for Ren Fair in like high school. My best friend in high school loved Ren Fair too. And so my mom actually sewed me like a Renaissance dress out of velvet, which was fun the first year because I grew up in Michigan, because it was like 40 degrees out, and the next year it was like 80 because it's Michigan.
Less fun.
and, and so I ended up buying like a gypsy costume that was kind of fun to wear. And then yeah, I think once I started like getting into corsets, I had like a pirate thing that I kind of did. I had a winch costume that I really liked, and I just like to take like all of the things I have and just put them all together.
How often do you hit Ren fairs?
I got to go to 3 this year, which was a lot of fun. So I'm in the Midwest, so I got to go to Bristol and Michigan and Ohio.
Oh, nice. So Origins is in Ohio, and that's a fun convention. If you like, it's like a slightly smaller Gen Con, but a little bit more RPG focus.
Okay, yeah. I also love board games, so when I went to Gen Con, I was just obsessed.
What's your favorite board game?
Definitely Catan. That's what I grew up playing that, and when I went to Gen Con and they have like the huge one that you can play, I was like, like goals someday I want to play that.
You found your mecca.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But I learned. Mm-hmm.
I was just gonna say, I'm just definitely a filthy casual when it comes to tabletops.
Yeah.
I guess the hardcore nerd tabletop games are the ones I like the least. Like Catan and Risk, and like if it takes longer than 2 hours, I just rather probably be playing an RPG.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I don't. Yeah, I never got into Risk. Yeah, I say Catan because I when I was little, I went to Europe actually with my family, and we were introduced to it before it was like really big in the States. And my dad, he loves strategy games. He became obsessed with it, so we played it all the time. So I'm actually really good at it, but nobody will play with me anymore because I usually win.
I
But
know.
Yeah,
in December,
like
we're trying, like we discovered in December that we were not going to be able to get together for any D&D games, just like because the holidays and everything.
Yeah.
So there was like one weekend that was open, so Ted's like just invited all the groups to his place to play tabletops and just kind of hang out. And my brother had showed up with his girlfriend and this game called Parks. And it's like the whole game is about going to different national parks around the country.
Okay.
And it was like very intense resource management is what it looked like to me, and that's just and it was also a super long game. And I just took one look and I was like, no thank you.
Yeah.
And then in a passing flag, I met the guy that made it. I'm like, oh, I saw your game and I hated it on sight. I mean, it's kind of cool if you're into that thing. It's just definitely not my thing. I like games that you can play. I'd rather play the same game over and over again than play one game for a long time.
Right, like you want to get pretty good at it. I was like that with Scythe. I learned how to play last year, and that is it's really intense. It's a very long kind of Risk-esque game, and I was just like, I played it a few times, and I'm like, any game that takes longer than 15 minutes to set up, it's too many pieces.
Yeah, I guess that's definitely a part of it too. The only game that I consider like a longer game that I actually like playing every time is House on the Hill Betrayer.
Oh, I don't do horror very well, or scary. And so, is that the game where like you have to try to escape the house?
Yeah, there's tiles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first and only time I played this game, I was with some friends that were really into board games. They're like, let's play it. And I was like, I don't want to play this game. Like, it doesn't seem that fun. They're like, oh no, you'll have a blast. Like, let's just do it. And I told them, I said, okay, but at the end, I don't want to be the monster. Like, I don't want to do that. And they're like, okay, it's fine. Like, the chances of you becoming the monster are slim.
I know where this is going.
Yeah. Well, guess who became the monster? It was me. So they like sent me in this room. I got to learn these new stats. And I was like, I didn't even want to play this game. And then like just by luck, what they needed was already in place, and so they won really easily. And
Yeah.
they were just like, "Oh yeah, we won!" And I was like, "Yeah, but now I have to sit here like I'm super competitive." And I was just like, I was so mad. I was like, "I hate this game. I don't want to play this game anymore."
I was going to ask you if you're competitive because I was definitely getting the vibe.
Yes.
My favorite time playing that game is when the haunt happened to me, and I happened to be playing the little girl character, and they had recently
Okay.
just given me the revolver because of she's got the high agility,
Mhm.
and I actually won and was able to open a portal for the elder beings to come through and destroy the
Oh
world.
man.
So that was kind of a blast. But I've also played that game and not done so well with it. Usually it seems to be stacked more towards the players than the
Right. Yeah.
monster.
Yeah. I was the wax monster, and so they had to start the fire,
Yeah.
but like the tile had already been played, and so it was like already in, and someone was like there. And so I can't remember, but I had a couple skills where I could like pull people back in from certain windows, but they
Yeah.
caught on so quickly that they just burnt those rooms. And then I was like, I'm just stuck here. Like I can't
Yeah.
do anything else. And then they just like ran out and they're like, "Oh, we won." And I was like, "Yeah, of course you won. I literally couldn't do anything." Anyway, so yes, I we have a joke in my family that our family motto is, "It doesn't matter if you win or lose unless you lose."
Fair enough. But I also like games like Smash Up and uh, Choirs is a fun one. And Choirs, I don't. Have you ever played that? Because it's one I like to tell people about.
I've not played it before.
So, if you like Descent and Ascension and that kind of stuff, deck
Hmm.
builders,
Yeah.
Quarriors is like a deck builder, but hear me out. It's got dice instead of cards.
Oh, yes. No, I do know that game. Oh, that's
Yeah,
so much fun.
yeah. It is
Like
like
change out the dice faces.
yes, yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's super fun.
that is one of my favorite games to play. That and Smash Up, just because I like crazy combinations. But also,
Yeah.
but also, if you do space anything, it's much easier to win if you know how to play the aliens.
Noted.
Yeah. So we are just past the hour mark. Final thoughts before we head on out.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I was a little nervous about it, to be honest. I've never done anything kind of live on YouTube before, so but it was a blast just to talk about games and things that I'm passionate about. So thank you so much for inviting me on.
Well, thanks for coming on. Now you can't say that anymore because you've done it. And as
I've
always,
done it.
folks, there are links in the description. Follow Lizzie over on TikTok. She's a blast over there, as well as we have a Kickstarter coming out in a week, basically. So you can head over there and follow that project as well. So until next time, stay nerdy.